this morning and go, oh, I can't wait for a fusion, right? How are you feeling about your upcoming surgery?
Nervous.
Nervous?
Hopeful that it will help.
Yeah, right? And here's the cool thing is, we're going to tell you exactly how you're going to feel afterwards. We're going to kind of explain some of the unknown to you. And research shows that the more you understand this stuff, the better, faster you're going to be post-operatively, okay? And we're going to try to make things simple for you today. But feel free to ask questions anytime we're going through this stuff, all right?
All right.
So the first thing I ask of you is, we know you're having surgery in a few weeks, okay? Right? You have your date set? So from now until then, I want you to kind of focus on you. I need you to put the blinders on a little bit, okay? And what I mean by that is, everybody has an opinion on surgery. You're going to talk to your neighbor, and they're going to tell you about their mother's, sister's, brother's, second cousin's dog that had spinal surgery and had bad outcomes. You're going to go on Google, and you're going to see good and bad of it. You're going to talk to a family member that's had no pain after surgery. But I need you to put those blinders on. Again, we know that patients that are committed to this surgery and know it's the right thing for them are going to do better. I've talked to your surgeon. I've looked at the notes he sent. I've done therapy for a long time. You've had therapy. You've had conservative treatment. You've tried rest. You've tried the injections. At this point, we know surgery is the right thing for you. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So no more Dr. Google for a few weeks?
I promise.
Perfect. All right, so like I said, we're going to take you through a program. It's going to be a little funny, a little silly, but we know that using some of these pictures and things, well, it can help you understand what's going on, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to have you look at that. That's the nervous system in the body. We have 400 different individual nerves in the body. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
45 miles of nerves in your human body. And not only are there 45 miles of them, they're all connected. You wiggle your toes, and the nerves at the base of your skull move a little bit. You take a deep breath in, and the nerves in your arms slip and slide like wet spaghetti. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Another cool thing about the nervous system is there's always a little bit of electricity running through it, flowing through all our nerves. And that means you're alive, which is great. You're alive, right? You're not dead?
Yeah, I think so.
Good, I didn't want to fill that paperwork out. Right? So everything's buzzing a little bit. And as we're going along in life, if I came up and punched you in the arm, that buzz would increase. And when we get to a certain level, that increase sends a message from your arm, up your shoulder, into your neck, into your spine, up to your brain. And your brain tells you, Casey's a jerk. You just punched me in the arm.
Hurts.
Call the lawyer. Or in our case, you go, geez, Casey's been working out. Right? And the good news is, it ramps up, and then it drops back down. Waiting for me to punch you in the arm again. Right? Life is good, electricity is flowing through. So let's talk a little bit about, if you stepped on a nail, Tony, would you know it?
Yeah.
How?
It would hurt.
Right? You don't have eyes at the bottom of your feet, it would hurt, okay? And if you took that nail out, would it hurt afterwards?
Probably.
Right? You don't just start walking around like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Pain's a good thing. Pain teaches us something. So you're walking, you step on the nail, boom, message goes up your foot, into your hips, into your back, up to your brain and says, hey, you stepped on a nail. We learned something from that. Because you'd want to know you stepped on the nail, right?
Yeah.
How come?
I don't want to take it out or step off the nail.
Yeah, we want to take it out. We want to make sure we don't have an infection. Again, it teaches us stuff, right? You're probably going to wear shoes around all these nails you're walking around. And then the system will calm down beautifully again. Might be a little sore for a few days, but it rests back to resting level. So let's talk about your back a little bit. Okay. So a few months ago, you were working with a patient, and you were trying to get them out of their chair, and you felt a pop in your back, right? What'd you think?
Thought I damaged something.
Right?
Yeah.
We probably all have that patient where we're like, oh, this is the exact story they told me. We're a coworker. So, things were buzzing along nicely. And you felt a pop. Message went up to the brain, told you, well, maybe lifted it a little too heavy of a patient, maybe should have got a Hoyer lift. I don't know what your guys' rules are where you're at, but now the bad news. In about 25% of people, that system never comes back down. It stays elevated. And it creates sensitivity. Now I know your back's sensitive, Tony. How do I know? You used to be able to sit as long as you wanted, right? Now where are we at?
Like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, right? You used to be able to walk for miles, and now you told me around the block was pretty painful.
Yeah.
So if we see before you felt that pop in your back, we had a ton of room, right? You could do whatever you wanted, typically within reason, you weren't hurting.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting here. There's not a lot of room. It doesn't take long before that alarm system goes off again and says, quit doing what you're doing, or there's some danger or threat. Like we said before, it's just an alarm system, right? It tells us there's something to be concerned about.
Sure.
And now I also want you to know that building up to your surgery, due to this elevation, we might find that this ramps up even a little bit more. You might be feeling your back a little bit more in the coming weeks, and that's normal. We might do a little pre-op therapy with you to get you a little stronger, and it might hurt a little bit more, and that's normal. We're just getting a little more sensitive and preparing for surgery. You said earlier you were a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anxiety is one of the things that keeps that elevated.
Okay.
And we know the surgeon's gonna do a great job. He's gonna go in there, he's gonna do a procedure he's done thousands of times, and you're gonna start to feel better afterwards, but it's normal to be anxious. Surgeons that go in to have surgery, performed by other surgeons they trust, are still anxious for surgery. It's not just you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid in the next couple weeks if you feel like, geez, what are we working on here? Because it's kind of hurting my back. I feel my back a little more. It's completely normal, okay?
Okay.
So our alarm system's pretty cool. Remember, 400 different individual nerves. How many miles?
45.
Ah, 45. All right, and along those 45 miles of nerves, we have a ton of sensors. We have sensors that can check pressure in the air, temperature, stress. So you've probably noticed when temperature changes, you might feel your back a little more, right? That's just your alarm system telling you what?
That the temperature has changed.
The pressure's changed or a storm's coming. That's normal. In your case, we have a sensitive alarm system, so it might happen a little more intensely. You might notice your back a little more, but it's normal. And we also have sensors in your body that detect stress.
Okay.
So if you're in traffic or you're having a bad day at work, you have a coworker that you just don't like, which I can't imagine. As those stress sensors go across your nerves, they set the alarm off. So that's why we talked about this sensitivity, right? How are you going to feel going up to surgery, right? You're going to have pre-op visits with me. You're going to probably have to do some blood draws and things. All that stuff creates anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff sets this alarm off. So it's totally normal. And we expect it. And the last thing I want you to think about too is, have you ever had the flu or a really bad cold?
Yeah.
Where do you hurt when you have the flu?
All over.
All over, right? Yeah, we know we have all throughout our body, when we're feeling sick, we have these awesome immune molecules that go around.
Okay.
They're like the police of your body. They go and make sure everything's okay. But as they pass by these sensors, they
Fire them off.
set off the alarm system, right? What does that mean?
When they're having the stuff set off, just that things that didn't cause pain before can cause pain.
Well, with the immune system, it means you got a cold coming.
Okay.
So we also want you to understand after surgery that you might have days where you get a cold or you get the flu or something, God forbid. You're going to feel your back more. And that's normal.
Okay.
That's just your body telling you you got a cold.
I'm alive.
Yeah, that you got a cold.
Okay.
And now, Tony, when life is good, all these sensors we talked about are all balanced out. We got a nice little scale here.
Okay.
But the really cool thing about our body is it can adapt those sensors. From birth, you don't have a set number of sensors. They change every day, every minute. And they respond to different things in our life. I think up here in the north, we notice it the most in, say, October. It gets about 50 degrees if we're lucky. Maybe even colder. How's 50 feel in October?
Cold.
Right, maybe even put a hat on, put a jacket on, right? So these cold receptors we have, as we step outside, they're opening up, they're setting off the alarm system a little bit that tells you, hey, I'm cold, put a hat on.
Okay.
Now it gets pretty cold here in the winter, so our body doesn't necessarily need all those cold receptors anymore. It figured it out. It's winter.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that anymore. So come April, when it's 50 out, how's it feel?
Good. Put shorts on.
Right. We took all those cold receptors out and replaced them with other stuff we needed to know about.
Mm-hmm.
Stress, illness because it's flu season.
Sure.
So then we don't have that many receptors come April, so you feel pretty good when it's 50. A few days later, it's 50 and you're like, it's getting a little cold out. 50 feels kind of chilly. So the same thing happens with stress again. So again, before surgery and after surgery, we're going to have some of this elevated stress levels. The scales are going to shift a little bit. Normal. The good news is, just like winter, eventually the scales will shift back. Okay?
Okay.
And that's just a normal body function. Pretty cool. And the last thing I want to talk about a little bit is another phenomenon that we kind of experience post-surgically. So if you went home tonight, and you had your car in the driveway, and your car alarm went off, what would happen?
I'd probably get up and
Yeah.
look at what's happening.
Right? You turn your car alarm off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say you weren't home and your car alarm went off, what would your neighbors do eventually?
Probably call me, be pretty upset.
Yeah, right? They'd probably call you being pretty angry. Well, how long has the alarm in your low back been going off for?
For a while now.
For a while now. And what are the neighbors to your low back?
My hips, my middle back.
Yeah, so you probably noticed as this has gone on, there's definitely days where you felt your upper back, you felt your hips.
Yeah.
So just be aware that when we go into surgery, the doctor is going to set off your back alarm. That's normal. That means your body's working, right?
Yep.
Well, just be aware that you already got pretty angry neighbors. So when you get up, day of surgery, we're probably going to have you move around. You're going to get up, you're going to sit up, you're going to move a little bit. Those neighbors are going to wake up a little bit.
Okay.
And that's normal, right? And eventually, we're going to shut the system off, and the neighbors are going to calm down. But just be aware, that's kind of a normal deal. To get up out of surgery and feel your hips more doesn't mean anything happened to your hips in surgery. It just means that the alarm system's buzzing in your back and waking up your neighbors a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense?
Yep.
So the thing patients often want to know is, why am I that 25%?
Yeah.
Right? Why am I buzzing up here instead of down here? Well, let's think about it a little bit. You've been through a lot of treatments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you went to the ER,
Yep.
doctor told you it was just muscle spasms, gave you a muscle relaxer, it didn't help.
Yep.
What do you think that did to your alarm system? Did it go up or down?
Didn't really change it.
Right, at least it sure didn't make it better, did it?
Yeah.
We talked about that anxiety, right? And then you went to your primary, and then you've been to a specialist, you've been to PT, chiropractic.
None of it helped.
Yeah, none of it's helped, right? So what does that do to the alarm system? Sure doesn't drop it
Keeps
down,
it up.
right?
Yeah.
And now, it's been a few months, you know, what about work?
Not going well.
Right? Getting a little stressed about work, right? That's not gonna make the alarm go down.
Mm-hmm.
Family life, even waking up with pain every morning is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know that pain's inevitable, right? Pain's a good thing. We want to know that we touch something hot, we need to move our hand away. Pain's inevitable, but living with pain isn't. Living with pain is stressful, and that's a lot of the things that are contributing to that elevated nervous system.
Okay.
So now the big money question, right? How do I bring that elevation down?
Yeah.
Okay? Well, this is pretty cool. First off, you talk to your surgeon about what surgery you're having, right?
Yep.
So the best part about this is the surgeon is going to go in there, and you got irritation in your back. He's talked to you about that. The surgeon is going to go in, and he's going to take that irritation away. He's going to go in, clean up your back, give you some beautiful space, right?
Yeah.
System comes down a little bit. Now remember the nail we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
So the nail's the irritation, just like you have irritation in your back, right? When you took the nail out, did the pain completely go away?
No, it's still there.
No. So we've dropped it down a little bit, but there's still some pain. Totally normal, totally expected. Second cool thing is, what we're doing today has been shown to help calm the system down. We talk about stress and anxiety. We're helping take some of that away today. I want you to look at this picture. This is really cool. This is what they call a functional MRI. So that's a scan of somebody's brain. So First, they scan their brain when the patient is just resting. They play beautiful music for them, they let them read something that calms them down, and they take a baseline. So they wipe out all the activity. This is a patient that had a bunch of back pain. So they had the patient bend over and they measured what's going on in the brain. Those little red dots are increased activity in the brain. Increased blood flow, increased synaptic activity, big fancy words. It just means we're blobologists. We study the blobs. So you'll see a ton of blobs.
Yeah.
That patient sat through a 30-minute session like you and I are sitting, and they had the patient bend over again and retook it. The patient understood a little bit, at least, about why they were feeling what they were feeling, and their brain calmed down. It wasn't afraid anymore. The anxiety went down. So that's pretty cool. So we dropped it down a little more. Next thing we know is the nervous system. 400 individual nerves,
45 miles.
45 miles. We know all those nerves, all that mileage of nerves loves blood flow.
Okay.
Loves oxygen. If we can bring blood and oxygen to those nerves, we know they calm down. Do you remember in high school when you had a big test coming up?
Mm-hmm.
And you were studying and studying and studying and you got pretty darn stressed out?
Yeah.
What did you do for a break?
Get up, walk around.
Yeah, maybe go hang out with your friends,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, play basketball, get the blood flowing, right? And then you came back to study, body was calmed down. So when you have surgery, we're gonna get you up pretty early. We're gonna get you moving because we know that blood flow is gonna help calm this system down. That's why you're gonna hear that a bunch, is you gotta get moving. Because we know that's a really important part of this. So we dropped it down a little more. Another thing we're going to do after surgery is the surgeon's going to give you some medication. Medication works. You're going to take it and you're going to help calm the system down. Now the cool part with the medicine is, as we calm this system down, we'll eventually work on getting you off the medicine. It's not something you have to take forever. It's something that once we calm the system down and bring you back to baseline, you don't have to be on forever, okay? And that comes to the last part. It's really cool. The body has this beautiful ability to help with pain. The most powerful CVS or Walgreens in the world is between your ears, Tony. Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
Our brain produces a lot of the same chemicals that we will prescribe patients for pain.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever stubbed your toe?
Yeah.
Did it hurt?
Yeah.
Really bad, right? Pretty
Yeah.
intense pain. How long did it last?
5 minutes.
Yeah, right? So, incredible pain, almost like some people would say, I just feel like I broke my toe, right?
Yeah.
The message goes up the leg, in your hip, in your spine, up to your brain, and said, Tony, you dummy, you moved that dresser, now you stubbed your toe. Look around, make sure you're not making a fool of yourself,
Yeah.
shut the pain down, right?
Yeah.
Your body had that ability to shut that massive pain down within minutes. Same thing after surgery. If we can get that brain active and get that brain helping you, we call it a wet brain. And how we do that, again, is by moving and understanding. So all these other pieces we've talked about are all going to help you have that beautiful wet brain to help you kind of manage yourself, okay?
Good.
Perfect, makes sense?
Yeah.
And lastly, we just want to talk about after surgery, we don't want you to freak out. Just like we talked about when you have flare-ups, when you took the nail out, it doesn't always just completely go away. That's completely normal. And our recovery is pretty cool. We've looked at it a few times, but it's going to follow this. You know, good days, bad days, good days, bad days. And we understand that's a normal process, right? When we feel stressed, we might have a bad day.
Sure.
If we're sick, we might have a bad day. If therapy was awesome, you might have a good day. You hung out with your friends, you were happy, you'll have a good day. That ebb and flow is totally normal, okay?
Okay.
And we ask that when you're having these flare-ups, these bad days, we understand them. We think about, oh yeah, you know, I am more stressed, that's why I'm having a bad day. We go for a little walk, we get a little exercise. Your therapist is going to give you some things to work on, or I'm going to give you some things to work on post-operatively. And you pick the ones you really like, the ones that feel good. We get to do those ones, keep the blood flowing, and we get to relax, knowing that tomorrow's going to be a good day. Okay?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So everything we know and have researched up to this point shows us that moving after surgery is important. It shows us that the more we get out and move and walk, the better we do following surgery. And now we have these stories, these stupid little pictures we looked at today. You can remember those on bad days.
Yeah.
And that's been shown to help too. Not just with post-surgical patients, but anybody that's in pain. It's been a very powerful tool. So we just know that if the patients understand this process, if you understand this process, things are gonna go better, okay? So just to wrap up, what does it mean if you feel pain after surgery?
It's just my system still being elevated and
Yeah. It
just
says,
some
hey.
areas irritated.
Right, it said, hey, you had back surgery. And that's not a bad thing, right? I don't want Dr. Bassi to do surgery on you and have you run a marathon.
Yeah, not going to
Right? It's valuable.
Yeah.
It's important to us. So is that pain normal?
Yeah.
Perfect. Will it go away right away?
Not right away. Good days, bad days, but hopefully
Yeah, and that's
back.
totally normal. And eventually, when this is all said and done, you're going to be feeling pretty good. You might see me 3 months down the line and say, yeah, I still feel my back, but that's okay. I'm at the grocery store, I'm walking again, life is good. That's where we want to be. And we'll continue to calm that system down and give you the tools to do it on your own eventually, okay?
Okay.
All right, Tony, do you have any other questions for me?
Not right now.
All right, perfect. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to call us at therapy or call your surgeon. They're always willing to answer any questions you have, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Well, first of all, a round of applause, but that is one of the best kind of education I have seen. So totally my hat up to you. And I just know I'm totally very, very impressed. And I have been recording it because I think this has been a fantastic presentation. On the surgical side, do you mind, I'm still recording, to hold it right here. And just at this angle, I want to add to the fantastic presentation you made, 2 tools that I think as well are still very valuable and for the patient is important to know. And one of the tools I'm going to write down here, that what we have combined with Big Stone, with you guys, we put together this patient logbook. And this logbook is something that you write down your activity, your pain and so on, and you describe the entire neurophysiology so beautifully that everybody can understand. I know you have to go to school to understand this, but the way you described it is actually amazing. I'm going to copy some of the things you said.
Take them.
Yes.
I stole them from other people.
Yeah, Yeah. but I think what's as well is important about this, what we call preloading. You describe preloading of the nerve, like when you're stressed, it is more likely for your pain nerves to shoot a signal, and so on. Sometimes it can be a delay, meaning that what you described is exactly what I draw for my patient about their pain. And sometimes there are activators. That activators can be stress, can be activity. But sometimes can be a delay between that activator and the peak pain. So practically, you have an event like, I had a patient that always, Wednesday, the pain got worse. She was doing gardening Mondays. As easy as that, by having a logbook, logging your activity and your pain levels, if there's a relationship, you're more likely to find out. Because everybody's easy to look at the foot, look at the nail, oh, that's caused the pain. But if it becomes more complex, that the relationship sometimes is not that easy. Then and that is this, but periodical going up and down, sometimes the effect can be a little delayed. The last thing I want to show on this here, and based on the last pictures, if you remember, I showed to you in my presentation. Let me bring that back up. If you remember the very last picture I put on, is about how a spine generally is. It's about what we can expect from our spine, this picture. And this is what I call the natural trend of the spine, that practically our spine is 100% or at its peak once our neuromuscular coordination improve, and before the degeneration start kicking in, meaning in our teens. That's why all Olympic gymnasts are at their teens. After that, we just have to live with the body we have, not with the body we wish. I would love to have the body I had when I was in my teens. And this is going to be a natural decline, and that's part of life. Most of us, it doesn't really matter. Only time when some of my patients ask me if you fuse that level, what do I notice? Am I going to lose function? My answer to them is only if you do Olympic gymnastics. That's where you truly, or you do high level, kind of stressful activities that, like if you do, competitive wrestling is part of your repertoire, you probably will notice some difference. For most of us, we don't, but nevertheless, we have a natural decline in our spine. Any pathology accelerates that, so that all of a sudden, you have a broken back, and all of a sudden your spine with 60 look like somebody within their 90s. Any treatment, independent of what kind of treatment, what you guys do, what we do, is to bring the nature to its equilibrium. And that equilibrium is that you can do less with 60 than with 40. And the second thing I want to add is that, as we discussed, we can bring you again after our treatment close in the green line to as natural kind of healing or situation for the spine is. To expect that, with after the surgery, we will bring you back to where you were in 40s, when you are in 60s. That's a utopia. That is not an achievable goal. And I think where you beautifully demonstrated by setting up the expectation, and you said that yourself, that patients who are informed, they do so much better, because that unexpected, that additional stress, as you said, preloads and aggravates their pain. That fMRI, that sort of this study, it's actually literally brings in a picture what that really means. Meaning that if before the surgery you're expecting to be here, you don't have anxiety, you don't have additional preloading of your nerves for pain. But if you before the surgery you're expecting to be here and you never get there, that is by itself an additional stress that makes your situation much worse. Now, this is, you just summarize what is the value of us working together. Because for too long, believe it or not, this is rare that you guys as physical therapists and the therapists as general, and we neurosurgeon or surgeon, we combine our forces together. And you are right, it's rare that surgeons send their patient to physical therapists, whereas it's a standard inspired spine treatment. No surgery is performed without our patients see you guys first. And you just proved that we are on the right track with what you just showed us. You proved that this is, and you put the numbers down, the studies down. We have explanation for that. And I think that put us in a very unique situation to help our patients. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay. Now don't stop it, because if any question, I want to gather as well questions regarding this talk. But you please continue if you have your presentation.
That's okay. Yeah, again, I mentioned it before, but just as we go over those pieces, just be sure you're always kind of talking with the patient. You definitely want the patient to be engaged, so make sure you're always asking, how they're feeling, do they understand what's going on. Those are really important. That motivational interviewing, if you guys haven't taken courses on it, I recommend that. Motivational interviewing is a very powerful tool. We want to, again, like I said, make the patient feel like they're making the right choice. We want the patient to be confident going into surgery. That's a powerful tool in and of itself. And again, take away that anxiety, explain how they're going to feel. I think that's big. I think pulling the nail out, relating that to going in and taking that irritation out of the back is really important. Patients get that. They understand that. They've all stepped on a Lego or something, it hurts like the dickens, and then you limp on it for a while. So, and we know this pain neuroscience stuff works with chronic pain. There's still some research and publication right now that is starting to show the evidence preoperatively yet, but we're not quite there. with research. I wish I could pull up 100 research articles that says this stuff works, but again, it's relatively new still. You know, that working, that collaboration with the surgeon, so we're all on the same page. So we're getting there. We think based on the research with chronic pain, this is going to be a powerful tool going forward. Anybody have any questions about administering it, how you bill for it? That's always a big one.
My question, just the
Yeah.
billing.
Yep, so it's neuromuscular reeducation. When I do it, I'll go in under their office, go in under neuro-reed, 25 minutes, roughly 30 minutes, and I just put pain neuroscience education for sensitive alarm system, post-operative pain, nerve sensors, and just kind of a quick blurb. We do have some, I think, canned text in the system that you can pull into if you want. I just free text it as I'm going, but we do have some canned text in there as well you can use, so. And it's reimbursed. I've been doing it now 3 years, and I've never had somebody not reimbursed for pain neuroscience education, so it's a powerful tool. You know, I'll even do that when I'm doing manual on patients, you know, even soft tissue work, I'm educating them on the nervous system, and I'm billing them neuro-read, and I'm getting reimbursed for it. Talk about desensitizing the nervous system using manual cues, so it's really reimbursable stuff. Reimburses well, too. So,
And that's the best money spent. You just showed us the data.
so
I think as far as administering it, you know, obviously read your patients. Some patients don't appreciate humor, but you know, a lot of these patients in chronic pain or pre-surgery are coming in and they're scared, you know, about what's happening to them and what their outcomes are going to be. So if you can get them laughing, you know, by joking, that can, you know, talking about the different things that heighten the alarm system, that can lower their stress and kind of get them more on board with what's happening. I think you'll have a little bit more success with that.
and that's why the motivational interviewing on the history subjective part before you go into this is really powerful, because they'll tell you, well, geez, I haven't worked for a month, and you know, family is really getting stressed out. I don't know how I'm going to take care of my kids. You can bring that right back into it. You make it their story. You know, I used a generic story today because it's easy to demonstrate, but if you can make it their story, you know, you bent and you picked up your shoe and your back popped, or you twisted funny, and you know, use those things. Those are really powerful too. You know, as you get better at this, you get better at doing that. You know, this is one of those things you just got to kind of do. I do use flashcards. You know, International Spine and Pain Evidence in Motion now puts out this beautiful Why Do You Hurt? There's a ton of flashcards in there. These are the basic ones I just use for this pre-op stuff. You don't need to do that stuff. I just have a little whiteboard with a pen that I do a lot of drawing on. I draw a lot of those pictures. Some of them, you know, something like this is pretty valuable to be in color, but most of it you can just draw on a whiteboard too. You know, to justify $100 on something, I think it's valuable, but I definitely did whiteboard for about 2 years before I bought this stuff. So.
If you heard before that every minute in the war is about $100, I think that's $100 well spent.
Yeah. And yeah, there's, if you deal with chronic pain patients, which I'm sure we all do, there's lots of other valuable stuff in there too. So yeah, you don't need a lot of fancy stuff. SharePoint has some other cool handouts too under the pain folder. So if you guys have questions about that too, we can send you links to that stuff. So any other questions? How do you feel about Monday? Better? It's good, good. All right, well, I went over a little long, but you guys will have to
Thank you
ask,
so much. Thank you.
ask Quinn about